All right, you guys, coming at you with another trick tip, Slappy trick tip. This was requested a few times, so I'm gonna get into it. It's a crooked grind to 180 nose grind. There are some prerequisites for the trick. I'll talk about that in just a few. I'm gonna warm up a little bit. I've already been skating around, so I'm pretty hot. It's humid here, obviously. Southeast Georgia, Atlanta area is just pure misery. It's like a terrarium out here. So it is what it is. But yeah, let's warm up a little bit more and then get into the trick tip. All right, as I always do, talk about approach, foot placement, all those things. So let's first thing I do want to discuss though is there are prerequisites for this trick. So this is a building block trick. All the things that you've probably learned from me. Sorry, these cars are loud as crap. So let me sit down. All the things that you've learned from me in these other videos, like no slide to crooked grind and those things like that, those are all going to kind of play a factor. So you want to have your crooked grinds like pretty down pat. It really helps if you can kind of control them, and even if you can pop them over, that's even better, because if you can pop them over, then you're used to tilting over the curb, which is a big part of this trick. So that's the biggest thing, is you want to have a lot of control over your crooked grinds, and you want to be able to hold them a little bit, because this is one of those tricks where learning it's easier if you slowly tilt over into it. So let's talk about foot placement for this trick, because I do change it up just a little bit from how I normally crooked grind. So let's go into that first, and I'll talk about approach after that, but approach is pretty much going to be the same as it is for normal crooked grinds. Okay, so normally when I crooked grind, I go into it and I'm kind of like this. Like I'll go in, I kind of have my back foot just kind of at that edge. Front foot, I don't really hang my toe off, and I kind of angle my foot just a little bit so I can kind of try to pinch over this heel slide wheel. That's how I normally crooked grind. For crook to 180 nose grind, it is easier if you change your front foot position just a tad. And what I mean is, if you can put it up to where you're right, or if you're goofy, your right pinky toe, if you're regular, your left pinky toe is kind of hanging off the tip of the board just a little bit, because that'll give you that good leverage point to kind of shift it over the curb, or if it's a decked curb, just to give you that leverage to get it around to the 180 nose grind portion. So that's the foot placement. Back foot's still the same. Front foot, I move it forward just a tad. All right, so for approach, I think honestly, like, the more that you can kind of get your crooked grinds to where you're not having to come in at a hard angle, the better it is going to be for you. So I try to treat my crooked grinds like typically now, like I'll come in a little bit more of a shallow angle instead of like a full 45. It'll be like a hair less than that. It just kind of helps me kind of ease into it a little bit more gentle, and then hold it down the line of the curve. So yeah, so that's kind of the angle of approach, is maybe a little less than 45. And then you want to, once you get into the crooked grind, and this is why I say the prerequisite is have a good crook. Once you get into it, if your foot is all the way up here, if you're grinding along, and this is why it helps to be able to hold them, if you're grinding along, you kind of want to make sure your weight is all the way over the curb. If your weight is off to the side, it's not going to work. You're going to go like this. If your weight's shifted away from it, you're gonna try to turn it to the 180 nose grind, and it's just gonna go like this. And it's just gonna go into a nose slide that's like twisted weird, and it won't work. So that's why your body weight, your chest and everything has to be centered over the curb. That way, when you go to tilt it, it's much easier to press over the other side of the curb and then let it go like that. That leverage point of it tipping over makes it so much easier for that wheel to kind of go up there. So, because if it's like this and you're not tipped at all, you got to kind of force it, like do a heel toe thing. For this, if you're learning it, you can kind of shift your weight and then your wheel kind of stays up there anyways, and it can slowly get into the 180 nose grind portion. So that's kind of how I would treat it at first. Just make sure you're all the way over the curb. That's the key. If you can get over that edge, if you have a double-sided curb, if you can get over that edge, it makes it so much easier to whip it into that 180 nose grind. So those are the big keys. Like, a lot of people don't do that. They'll try to play it safe and lean away. You almost want to act like you're popping it over to the other side. That's that motion you want. Like, you're almost just about to like pop it over, and you kind of don't, and then you shift. And when you shift it over into the 180 nose grind, it's kind of like you go from your heel to kind of your toe. So it's like heel, toe side pinch, and then your body's probably gonna want to just bring it back to regular because you're kind of letting your hips twist. It's more in your hips than it is your like upper body. If you can let your hips just kind of do their thing and go over while your upper body doesn't over rotate, then it's much easier to like come back out regular. But as soon as your shoulders start going like the way that you're turning the 180 nose grind, then it'll want to kind of come out fakey. And that, personally, I don't think it looks as good that way when you're coming out of this trick fakey, because you kind of just fall out of it. I just don't. I don't like the way it looks. So I think it's a lot more rad if you go boom, boom, and then you bring it back. So, and it'll kind of automatically want to do that. So yeah, once you learn this, then you can kind of play with like popping it over. Popping it over is pretty easy once you get this trick dialed, because all you do is keep your weight going over the curb, and then it'll kind of automatically snap it over to regular. It's really not that difficult. This trick kind of wants to kind of suck up to you when you bring it out to regular, which is also a plus. So I'm going to do some. I'll slow them down just like I always do a bunch of angles, and hopefully you guys can get this trick dialed. And this is one of my absolute favorite tricks to do. It's a go-to, so the more people I can see doing it, the more stoked I'll be. So let's get to it. All right, so that's a bunch of Crick 180 nose grinds. Yeah, like I said, you want to have good cricket grinds before you try this trick. If you can pop them over, even better. Keep your body weight over the curb, stay centered. Don't let your shoulders over rotate too much. Let your hips kind of do the work. Foot really far up on the board, toe hanging off the edge, and let that rotation go. You can slowly go into it if you grind the crick real far. And yeah, I'm sure you guys will get some. Also, the other thing I forgot to mention, this should be kind of a given at this point based on how many times I've said it, but you really want to make sure your knees are nice and bent. Don't be stiff going into this trick. And this video has been brought to you by Waxo Wax. The homie, it's made out in Texas. Really good wax. This stuff is in the plastic right now. It's got water on it. But it's really hot here in the southeast, and this wax is held up like amazing. It hasn't melted at all. I've been using Gulf wax, and Gulf wax just like turns into mush, and it gets really soft and soggy. So as soon as you put it on a curb in the heat, it's miserable. This has been like rock solid. I don't know what he did with the ratio for this, for paraffin, and I don't know. So yeah, I don't know what he did, but this is held up in the heat. It sat in my car all day. I have a bunch of this stuff, and none of it melted. So I'm honestly pretty shocked. I mean, it slid really fast. So it's kind of all I could ask for. But yeah, let me know what you guys would like to see next. If you want another trick tip or whatever, if you want a review, or I know front Smith is like kind of on the list of things that people wanted me to teach them. Also, like front nose slide popovers. I haven't done any front nose slide variation tricks yet, so maybe that could be something. I would like to do switch feebles, but I'm not super good at them yet. I'm just kind of learning them now. So also, like, if you guys would want to see like the nose slide to back 50 or something like that, that's one I can do too. So, and then maybe even crick heel flips if you want to start flipping out of things, or board slide kick flips. I could do those, not very consistently, but I could do them. Yeah, so I'll catch you guys soon. Hopefully I'll see you guys learning these Crick to 180 nose grinds, and let me know how it's working for you. Let me know if the trick tip helped. Leave a comment, and I'll catch you guys next time.